Now, the Gorosei coming to Egghead is actually a lot crazier than you think. We thought Kizaru coming to Egghead was going to be a problem by himself, but now that a Gorosei is coming as well, this changes everything in terms of the Straw Hat escaping with ease. Now, we've always known that given the fact that the Seraphims had the Gorosei as the highest authority on the Seraphim's control, we knew that at some point it was going to come into play, but we didn't know exactly when, and for the most part, we didn't think it was going to happen this soon. Initially, I thought this was something that was going to happen much later in the story, but then you take a step back and realize that we are in the end game, so we're going to start seeing things happen right here and right now. So Oda, for the most part, is not playing around and doing any long-term sort of setups. We're going to get these reveals here and now and in actuality, again, which really shows that One Piece is truly in its end game. And the fact that we're seeing an elder actually move away from his office from Maridroa and coming right into a battlefield is massive, because they know Luffy's there and they know Luffy is currently a Yonko. So this guy is coming into a place where Yonko is residing at, and given the fact that they are coming with fleets means that they do want to engage in battle, which tells me that the 5 elders are indeed fighters in their own right. And again, this is something that we've been speculating about for a very long time. How strong are the 5 elders? Now, I've always been on the mindset that these guys are extremely powerful just because of the scars they have on their body, and also when it came to the reveal of Imusama, the fact that these guys aren't just political figures and are also bodyguards tells me something. It is definitely indicative of them being very strong fighters. Now, as to what level they are, we're not sure, but I'm thinking they're probably around Admiral level. I wouldn't be surprised if they had really broken devil fruits. We know that the Ball Gorosei has one of the 12 supreme grades. That alone should tell you something. But this is very interesting, the fact that one of the 5 elders is actually making a move. And again, it seems like the grade cleansing is actually coming into effect now. I didn't think that they were going to make a move themselves, but it seems like things in the world is definitely going out of hands, and they are at the point where they have to change things before it gets too crazy. And I think ever since there was an alliance between 2 Yonkos and then Nikka's appearance finally happening in Wano, that was the final straw. Now, we do also get a name for this individual, and he goes by Saint J. Garcia Saturn, and this could possibly tell us about the names of the other ones being related to planets as well. So the others could go by names like Jupiter, Mercury, Mars, and Venus, which is very interesting because they would share the names as the ancient weapons that we do know about in the stories, such as Uranus and Pluton. So I wonder what this is really about. It could be telling us that they do hold some sort of godlike power, and Imusama is probably at the very pinnacle of that. But overall, this was a very crazy reveal, and it definitely changes the course of the story now. Now, before we keep going, I'd appreciate it if you dropped a like on this video. Let's go for 500 likes. Hit the bell if you want to get notified for more content, and subscribe if you're new here. Now, moving back to Egghead here, we do get some interesting reveals coming off of the last chapter, in which we come to finally get Stussy's true allegiance and identity. And here it is revealed that Stussy was indeed the person Vegapunk was talking to in the previous chapter. And again, it makes a lot of sense given the fact that Stussy seemingly knew everything about Egghead when she arrived, which was very sus to begin with, so that should have definitely raised the flag. And again, it makes a lot more sense that she's connected to Vegapunk because she's based on the original Stussy, Miss Baking, who was a member of the Mad Scientist group. Now, as to what her true purpose is here, we're not sure, but as of right now, she's currently allied to Vegapunk. Now, in terms of her ability, she was able to dispatch of Rob Lucci pretty quickly, but this is due to the fact that Rob Lucci for the most part was blindsided because she turns out to have sea stone lipstick, which was how Kaku was dealt with pretty quickly as well. And she was then able to use that on Rob Lucci, taking him down for the count. Now, she did also say that more than likely she wouldn't have been able to take these guys on a head-on encounter. So while it does look pretty bad for Rob Lucci and Kaku, she did also sneak them with probably the best counter to any devil fruit user. Now, as to whether she has an ability, we're not sure, but it does seem like the black devil fruit that Caesar was holding in one of the previous cover pages seems to be what she has. It kind of has the same theme. That's what I'm sort of guessing here. And we do see that she doesn't actually directly touch the sea stone in this chapter, so more than likely she does have a devil fruit ability, leaning towards more of a mythical vampire or succubus, or possibly just a regular Zoan. Now, I've got to say that I do really like the whole clone idea that Oda has brought up here, because now it just brings up a whole new world of possibilities into play. And Stussy being a clone was probably one of the best moves Oda has made here, because it makes the story a lot more interesting now, especially given the fact that she was the first successful clone clone, and this was ages ago. So it really makes you wonder who else did they clone after her and how many clones are there. I'd like to imagine that they would clone high-profile individuals, and given the fact that Stussy was on rocks, which is teeming with top tiers of the old generation, the possibilities are endless. So the potential that can come out of this is insane. Now with Rob Lucci and Kaku out of the picture, it seems like the Straw Hats for the most part are currently not in any danger, as we would see that Vegapunk actually takes commands of the Seraphims here, and so for the most part we're just waiting on Kizaru and the Gorosei to arrive. We do also get a pretty cool encounter here, an encounter a lot of people have been waiting for, and that is S-Hawk versus Zoro. Now granted, all we do see in this chapter is just one clash, but I do like to see the interaction between Zoro and a sort of younger version of Mihawk. And here Zoro says something very interesting, in which the more that he looks at S-Hawk, the more that he sees humanity within him, which is a very strange thing to say, right? I took this two ways, in which he could be saying that current Mihawk is literally a monster, where he can't be compared to normal humans, or he's lost his humanity in some sense, or he's saying that the Seraphims, even though they're robots, are very human-like in nature, which I think is more of the latter that he's referring to here, because you wouldn't think of these kids as being robots at a first glance. So I wonder how this interaction between Zoro and S-Hawk is going to go moving forward, but I do think that they're eventually going to fight again, because we do know that the Gorosei is on his way and he does have the higher authority chip, and a permanent one at that, because once the Gorosei commands something, no one else can override it, unless Vegapunk installs some sort of secret code or something like that, which I doubt, but it could still be a possibility. Now talking about Vegapunk here, it is also mentioned towards the end of this section that an event will occur in which Vegapunk would disappear, and as of right now they seemingly cannot find him and Bonnie. Now this is very strange. Now they're either talking about something that is to come, which could be the Gorosei and Kizaru that's going to make Vegapunk disappear, or something else that's actually happened in which Vegapunk disappeared on his own. So it could be the Gorosei and Kizaru, but it also could be Vegapunk being on some ulterior motive, right? Because Vegapunk, sometimes he does come off as being very shady in some sense, so we'll see where this goes. Now going back to clones here, we do get some hints as to Weevil's true origins. Now towards the end of the chapter, we come to get what transpired on Finks Island while Marco was away, and here it is mentioned that some Marines actually came up here during the abolishment of the warlord system, and it would seem that they tried to claim Whitebeard's treasure, and seemingly they came here because Marco wasn't here, because initially they came here with no admirals, right? So they tried to take advantage of the situation, but it would seem that Weevil had actually made his way to Sphinx Island. Now it's very likely that he came here to kill Marco or defeat Marco, but that seemingly took a turn in which he actually protected the island from the Marines, because he believed that Whitebeard was his father, so he's protecting his father's property in some sense. And so he eventually defeats all the Marines that initially came here, and thus the Marines responded by getting an admiral to take care of the situation, in which you come to find out that GREENBULL was responsible for capturing Weevil, which is very impressive, because we do know that Weevil was said to be as strong as a young Whitebeard, which is pretty much equivalent to the version of Whitebeard that was on God's Valley. So at least GREENBULL does have something to his name, and we do know that this happened before GREENBULL actually went to Wano. Now I'm not going to give GREENBULL too much credit here, because Weevil is not an established character, because he hasn't done anything yet, so nothing really changed for me when it comes to GREENBULL, but Oda wanted him to have something in his name. Now this whole situation eventually leads Miss Backing to plead to Marco to get Weevil back, but that's obviously something that's not within Marco's power, so I wonder where this is all leading towards. And she also talks about the legitimacy of Weevil being Whitebeard's son, which more than likely they are related, but I wouldn't necessarily say that he's the direct son of Whitebeard. I do think that given that Stussy is from Mads and they were cloning back then, more than likely they involved Whitebeard's DNA into the making of Weevil. We do also know that Stussy was on rocks, so it is definitely within her reach to do something like that. So Weevil getting captured right now is definitely a bit strange, because he's a character for the most part that hasn't done anything in the story yet, but it seems like since cloning, the theme of cloning is finally in the front light in the story again, Oda is putting some spotlight since he's affiliated with these things. So I wonder where Oda is taking this. But regardless, this is a chain of events that no one would have predicted, and this goes to show Oda's crazy curveballs. But that's pretty much it for this video, guys. I'd appreciate it if you dropped a like on this video, comment down below what you guys think, subscribe if you're new here, hit the bell if you want to get notified for future content. You can follow me on Twitter at Ferrospace, but it is fair, guys, and I will see you folks later. Peace.